Research shows that more than half of 11 to 13-year-olds have seen pornography at some point, rising to two-thirds of 14 to 15-year-olds. And shockingly, some children as young as 7 have seen it. Talking to your children about porn, obviously, it can be very awkward, but it's an important conversation to start, something that New Zealand is doing with this new advert. Isn't that incredible, I think, to use humour in that way to get such a serious message across? It's actually part of a government initiative to tackle inappropriate behaviour online and to encourage parents to discuss with their children, as you saw there, that what they see online doesn't always reflect reality, including pornography. I found that really powerful, brilliant. What did you think, Nadia?
Is there anything that I don't love about New Zealand? I absolutely love that ad because it was just so accessible to everybody. Listen, I remember when I was a kid, and my husband would say the same, you know, you'd find out a new word like vagina, and you'd go to the dictionary and you'd look it up and you'd all giggle about this word and the meaning of this word or whatever other word. Now you go onto your computer and you type it in, and we all know what will come, the kind of things that will come up. So I assume that, I hope not, but I assume that my children have seen everything imaginable. Because the other thing is, as other members of my family who are boys have told me, you go on a sleepover and everything comes up and you're shown everything. So for me, I've had very difficult conversations with my girls from very small, just in case. And the conversation continues on and on. My daughter's now 17. I had a conversation with her just a couple of days ago that you would never imagine you would have to have with your 17-year-old. So I think for a lot of people, I mean, we're professional oversharers. We do this. This is what we do. But for an awful lot of people, it's cripplingly embarrassing, ever so difficult to even think about having these conversations. So I think ads like this that say it's okay to, and, you know, just consider that your child might be exposed to this is great.
I mean, we used to switch the telly off if anybody kissed on telly, you know, you know, at any time, and that's how difficult it was in our house. What about you?
I do appreciate the advert for what it is, and I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. However, I do have a problem with the governments in general saying, OK, so kids are being exposed to porn, why don't we make an advert telling adults to make sure that their kids are being spoken to about porn? When actually, yes, that's great. So give adults advice and help them start a conversation. But at the same time, could we please have a little bit more support from everywhere else? You know, if there are sites that are showing this content, can they not be regulated? Can they not be fined by the government if people are not showing ID and not old enough to use their services? Is there not more they could be doing? I don't even have to ask that question. There is more they could be doing to protect our children. I feel like it's a bit of a cop-out. It's almost like, let's put all the onus on the parents. And we do. We're constantly checking their phones, making sure they're having the right conversations, trying to be there all the time, but we can't. Like you said, they might go to a sleepover and see something that we don't want them to see. But the reality is...
Have you seen stuff?
I mean, well, I've seen... Zach's in...
I mean, on your kids' phones, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I will go down, and I will openly go down the kids' devices and say, I'm just going to have a look, but they've also got restrictions on. I can only do so much, and they're young boys, and eventually they're going to be exposed to this stuff, and whether they come to me or not, I don't know. But I've been on Zachy's, my eldest son's WhatsApp groups, and even at this age, at 12, they share stuff that I'm like, oh, and it's not porn at this stage yet, but it'll be something really scary that I think, I need to have a conversation about that. That's not normal. That doesn't actually happen.
I really agree with you on that, Stacey. And to be honest, you've convinced me over like the last few years that we've been discussing because I think at one point I was, well, you've got to speak to your child. You know, we can't control the big wide world. We can only control our own children. But actually, I have changed, and you've been a big part of convincing me in that I think we need a lot more help to protect our children. It's entirely natural for children to be curious about sex. We were, previous generations were, that's a really natural instinct. But as you say, Nadia, when we were young, you sort of get in a corner of some magazine. But that magazine was on the top shelf. It was over 18s only. There were protections against us accessing that stuff. And now it's just out there, isn't it? It's so easy for children to get it. And you've got to make it more difficult. And we've got to put the pressure on the companies.
Sorry, Kaye, sorry to interrupt. Do you believe we can? Because I think and maybe this is wrong, and listening to both, I think I've lost all hope
But
that there can be
why?
anything.
It's because
Nadia,
you've
these
blamed
companies
yourself.
are making a fortune out of
Yeah.
this. This
So
is
what could be
hugely
done?
profitable.
Well,
The
even for
porn
a
industry is so
start,
profitable.
even just at the bare minimum, they could regulate their adverts. You know, unless you're on a specifically kid... So, for example, unless you're on kids' YouTube, which is basically for 6-year-olds and under, I believe, with the content they have on there, my 12-year-old will get 18 movie adverts when he's on YouTube, and I have to go, oh, turn that off, that's not right. That shouldn't be happening. If I've put an age restriction on his device, and I've set up his account with his age on it, they can monitor that. They can do more.
But it's the sharing, isn't it? Because you might do that, but another parent might not have, and then it pops up on you. And actually, there are statistics to say that the majority of children find it by accident. They're not actually going to look for it. It happens to be on their phone. So if that happens...
But Ranvir, we're not going to get rid of it, but we can make it more difficult. I mean, we have kids who underage drink. Well, it's going to be impossible almost to get rid of that, but we make it very difficult.
Also, fine, so if your kids' friends are drinking and you don't want your kids, or they're smoking at 14 and you don't want them, or they're sharing porn and you don't want them, do you go and confront the parents?
No, never. I've been bitten so many times by trying to talk to parents, woman to woman, mum to mum, and it always ends badly.
Would you want another parent to tell you, though?
I would, but my experience, I've been bitten so many times, I will never, ever, ever talk to another mother again. I really won't.
The other thing is, you can't be confident that your child isn't involved. And as a parent, you tend to go, your child is doing that to my nice, innocent child.
Yes.
And actually, with teenagers, how often is that the case?
And that advert was good, wasn't it? He looked so innocent and young, yet he's the one who's actually looking at it. You'd think he was, you know, in the advert. Have you ever confronted anyone for the things on your kids' phone?
I haven't, but if I saw something that I thought, oh my God, that's worrying. You know, there are certain things that you'd look at online and some content, and if my child was watching it or had been sent it, I think it was a worry. And I definitely, I'd like to think, I don't know.
I suppose Zach is much
think
younger than my kids as well, so
say
maybe it would have been
something.
different. You know, I've got teenagers, so... But maybe when they were younger, I would...
I think we can all agree that New Zealand is a pretty progressive place, and it is
just
a wonderful place, isn't it?
Nice weather and all.
Yeah, when we can get on a flight, we'll have to go, won't we? One day.
Gosh, on Jacinda, it's really...
They won't let us in.